Hi, very good evening and good morning if in case people are joining from the other parts of the world. I am Vanita Khatter. I am a PCC coach, and thanks to the community coaching journey that I have been really rewarded, I would say, with a lot of assistance from our peer coaches. Of course, I got to learn from our peer coaches when I was struggling with my ACC. I got to read books with them. I got to have very, very interesting, challenging, and informative discussions with them through the conversations group. So, in short, basically, I would say coaching journey is a community on WhatsApp. And I think it's the fastest growing community. We started a few years back, I think 5 years back, with just five, six of us. And today we are sitting with 1,000 coaches from all over the world. I personally have worked with people from Africa, from Singapore, of course, from Russia, from Egypt, US, or so many parts of Europe. So it's like really interesting to get exposed to so many different cultures through this community. We've got, I think, almost about 16 different groups in the coaching journey, community. And you can be part of any group that you like based on your journey, your pace of learning. So this is the little about coaching journey. And every month we organize such sessions for our coaches. And today we are just lucky to have Dharmista Roy, who is from Guwahati, and I'm surprised to hear that. And if I just kind of slightly introduce her to you, she's a leadership and emotional intelligence coach, catalyst coach, with an ACC behind her, a soft skill trainer, inner child healer, a shadow work expert, and I'm really eager to hear what she has to say about shadow work. She's also a clinical hypnotherapist and an NLP practitioner. Some more about herself from her mouth it's by itself. I would only say this that she's the most comfortable speaker that I have worked with in the last few years. So over to you, Dharmishta, and looking forward to hearing a lot of good things about transformational coaching. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanita. Wow, I'm really amazed at the introduction that you have just given about me. Um, and yes, the journey has been pretty rewarding. I can also say that about what I have kind of absorbed through my life and whatever I've understood about everything, say about coaching or healing work or the shadow work, right? So, adding to what Vanita has said, yes, I do bring in 15 years of work experience, primarily from the L&D, from the soft skills and behavioral training bit. For the most part of my life, I remember being a facilitator, soft skills facilitator. And then I think in 2017, 18, briefly, I just took a leap of faith to dive a little into the journey of healing because of a crisis that I went through in life. And that's when the real transformation began in my life. And I started dabbling in different kinds of interests, different kinds of arts to understand how I can go deeper within myself. And post that, I think I got an opportunity to dive into the world of neurolinguistic programming. And there has been no looking back. In fact, after NLP has come to my life, or I've started digging deeper into NLP concepts, because that's when I recognized the essential part of NLP, which was hypnosis, hypnotherapy. I went ahead with a bit of hypnosis and started taking up more of clinical hypnotherapy, and this is where I got certified as well. And shadow work has primarily been the base of my work. And people who know about it, well and good, but people who have just heard about shadow work, or they might have heard about it casually somewhere. I think if you remember, we had a session on casual work already, right? So it was a beautiful session, and shadow work primarily is all about understanding the hidden parts of ourselves or the repressed parts of ourselves, which we somehow ignore, dismiss, or we do not acknowledge, right? So that is what shadow work primarily constitutes, right? And not only that, I think through the work that I have done, I've been able to help clients who have come to me to seek support in their own journey, in their own healing process. And that's how I have used these tools, these frameworks, these approaches to their best advantage. So I have worked with leaders, I've worked with mid-level management, people with several executives, with people in their starting point of their career, and across different verticals, different business opportunities that I have got to upskill them to make their lives better through hypnotherapy, through shadow work, through healing. And with ACC, right now, again, I have been using coaching to a great extent to bring in those transformational shifts in the lives of the clients that I have, right? So yes, primarily that's all about me, Vanita. I would not like to go, I mean, I would like to keep it very simple. And of course, I'm from Assam, like Vanita has rightly said, but been in Bangalore for the last 13 years so far as I know. Yes, 13 to 14 years. All right. So yes, thank you, Vanita. And should we get started, or do we? Yes. Right, I see Vanita nodding. All right. So we have 10 people here, and I'm sure we'll keep, I mean, people will keep joining in. We can get started already. So today we are here with a very, I wouldn't say an unconventional topic, something that is very intriguing. Some of us know about it already. We have been using this very often in our own coaching approaches, right? And even though we don't say it out loud, because within ICF context, hypnosis is something that we do not use proactively, because that goes a bit into therapeutic interventions. But if you notice, like when we, as we go through the session, you will notice that most of the tools, frameworks that we discuss here is something that you're already using. You'll notice this, right? So this is something that has been ingrained as a coach, and maybe uh, within the years that we have evolved as coaches, we have started using these tools and frameworks and techniques, right? So um, going now, staying within the lines, staying within the I would say the boundaries of ICF context, ICF framework, ICF approaches. I would like to discuss some of these techniques, tools, and approaches of hypnosis that can come in really handy for the coaches. And like I said, some of you might be already using it, and you'll discover that, okay, hey, I use this Dharmista already in my coaching sessions, right? So you may have those aha moments as well where you're already using it. And of course, then I would also like to discuss certain hypnosis techniques, or probably touch upon some of these approaches which may not come under the boundary of ICF context, but it may go, or it may cascade towards a bit of therapeutic intervention. And this is again, I would like to set the context here, a word of caution. So this is something which may not come under the boundary of ICF context and ICF approaches, right? So setting the context here before we start the session, because like I said, a very intriguing one and a very unconventional one, because we are all a community of ICF coaches, and this is where we get going into understanding how these hypnotic processes can help us in the transformational coaching journey, right? So there you go. Without much ado about nothing, I would just go ahead with a small activity. I would want you all to turn on your camera if you can, because I would like to start off with a small activity. Since it's a hypnosis session, yes, that would be great. If I can see you all, that would be wonderful, right? Okay. I would urge you all to keep your phones, any distractions aside, because this is going to be, again, hypnosis approach. Primarily, it's called a Betty Erickson hypnosis activity. Yes. And if you can keep your phones, anything that is distracting you, the digital devices, just keep it aside. All right. Okay. I hope I can see everyone here. All right. Okay. So setting the context here, I'm not going to hypnotize you. Don't worry about it. I'm simply going to invite your attention to move from the outside world to your inner experience, because we all have been preoccupied with a lot of things. You've just joined in, and there are a lot of we are preoccupied with thoughts out from outside, right? So I would want you all to have this journey, this transition from the outside world to the inside experience. So if you just pay attention, you can begin to experience hypnosis, right? Let me know if I'm audible. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Taking a deep breath, everyone, long, deep breath. Gently inhale and slowly exhale. Now, as coaches, we often ask clients to notice their thoughts, their emotions, their bodily sensations. So, hypnosis also begins in a very similar way, with focused attention. This isn't about mind control or losing consciousness. It is about remaining in charge. So, throughout this process, you will be in total charge of your body and your senses. You can adjust your posture, open your eyes, or simply observe at any time. If you're driving, I would urge you to stop driving and not experience this. Or if you're operating machinery, you are on treadmill, I would urge you to get off the treadmill, right? So take a moment to settle on the chairs wherever you're sitting. Take a moment to settle on the seat. Allow both feet to comfortably rest on the ground. Let your hands rest. Bring your awareness to your breath. Now, if you're comfortable doing so, simply soften your gaze towards the screen. There is no right or wrong way of doing this. Whatever happens for you is perfectly okay. Now take a slow, deep breath in. Slowly breathe out. Inhale and gently exhale. And without trying to change anything, simply notice your breathing. Now, I would like you to become aware of your surroundings. If your eyes are still open, I would want you to notice three things that you can see. Don't analyze them, don't search them, just notice them. Perhaps it's the edge of your laptop, is the doorknob, the walls, the color of your wall. Simply allow your attention to rest on three different things. Now notice three sounds: the sound of my voice, the sound of people around you, if any, there's traffic outside, the sound of the fan. No need to search, just simply be aware. Now become aware of three physical sensations. Become aware of the weight of your body on your chair, the warm breath, the temperature of the air against your cheeks, your skin, the weight of your hands. Just notice. Now allow your attention to slightly narrow. Notice two things that you can see. Bring your attention to two things that you can see, two sounds, two physical sensations. Nothing to achieve, nothing to fix. Now, bringing your attention to one thing that you can see, one thing that you can hear, one physical sensation. Take another slow, deep breath. And as you exhale, allow your eyes to gently close if they haven't already. Now we are beginning to explore our inner experience. Three things you can see. Imagine three things you can see. Perhaps a favorite place, a beach, a mountain, a forest, maybe just colors and shapes. There's no need to make the image perfect. Now imagine three sounds: birds, ocean waves, someone laughing, rain on the window, perhaps simply the sound of your own breathing. Now imagine three sensations: the warmth of sunshine, walking barefoot on soft grass, holding a warm cup of tea, the comfort of your favorite blanket. Allow yourself to experience these sensations. Now bringing your awareness to just two imagined images, two imagined sounds, two imagined sensations. You're beginning to notice how your attention has become a little quieter, perhaps a little more focused. And now bring your attention to one imagined image, one imagined sound, one imagined sensation. And for the next few moments, there is nowhere to go, nothing new to solve, nothing as you're beginning to hear my voice again. As coaches, we are always helping others discover resources. So let us just gently invite our attention to ask ourselves a simple question: what inner resource would be the most valuable for me today? Is it confidence? Is it curiosity? Is it compassion? You don't need to choose logically. Allow whatever comes first. Now imagine that quality as though it were a gentle light. Perhaps it has a color, it has warmth, it's simply a feeling. Imagine that light beginning to spread gently through your body. Take a slow, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, allow that feeling to settle. And in a few moments, we'll bring our attention back to the room, back to the sounds, back to my voice. Bring our attention back to the session. Become aware of the chair supporting you. Notice the temperature of the room. Gently moving your fingers, move your toes. Take a comfortable breath. And whenever you're ready, just open your eyes. All right. Yes, you can gently open your eyes if you're already there. Yeah. So how was the experience? I want you all to go off mute and tell me what happened. How was the experience? How are you feeling? You can go off mute.
It's a great feeling, Dharmista.
Hmm. Hmm.
Actually, I just had a short nap and I woke up, I think,
Yes.
before
Yeah.
the sleep cycle got over.
Yeah.
So as you were narrating it slowly, right?
Hmm.
I was coming in
Hmm.
and saying, okay, the remaining sleep cycle is still remaining, but you have to be aware that
Yeah. Right. So if you notice, I mean, I would like to, again, I'm sure some of you have already mentioned it in the chat, right? So this is what happens when we pay attention. We experience hypnosis in a focused awareness, right? So bringing you all to this warm journey of hypnosis and how this takes place. And again, if you really want this, you can start off your coaching sessions on this note as well. If you believe that clients bring a lot of thoughts, they're preoccupied with a lot of other things, it is the best way to bring their focus back to the coaching session where you would like to discuss critical things, right? So essentially, this is not therapeutic. This is all about calming your senses where the critical filters of the mind are lowered, right? You gently start experiencing that calmness. So that's what hypnosis is all about. So this was just a small activity on Betty Erickson hypnosis. And we would like to start off on this note. Well, we all know patients are patients because they are out of rapport with their own unconscious, right? So most of the times, if you notice, the greatest breakthroughs happen when clients reconnect with parts of themselves that they've stopped listening to, and those parts are usually what we say we negate, we hide it, we suppress, primarily in the subconscious, right? So I would like to start off on this particular note here, and these are the learning objectives that we would like to uncover or we'd like to address in this session. Understanding hypnosis as an approach, and I would not like to say that we have to use hypnosis. No, that's not the point of this session. It is just an approach in ethical coaching, how we can explore hypnosis in ethical coaching, right? And primarily what is the role of subconscious learning, right, and how it can be used in coaching depths, and of course understanding the ethical boundaries that we need to have and how we can appropriately apply this in our language as well, right? Okay. Right. So I would like to ask all of you, and again, since we are 13 today in the session, in the room, it will be easier to interact, like Vanita has said, quite a small number, but good because there'll be focused attention, right? Have you worked with clients who knew exactly what to do, yet they kept repeating the same behavior? I'm sure we all have gone through this journey, right? Yes, if you could just go off mute and talk about it. Have you ever worked with clients where they knew what to do exactly? They had that awareness, but they kind of kept on repeating the same behavior. Yes, yes, Vanita. Vanita's hands have gone.
I
Yes.
think one of my clients, I'm still struggling with him, but there is a lot of resistance to let go of the old um,
Mm,
comfort zone that they
yeah.
continue to live with. Because he shared with me, if that is not there,
Mm,
then what what can I put in that space? Um,
yeah.
like he's a very emotional person. So for him
Mm,
to let go of an emotion while taking any decision is
mm,
taking a long time. So
mm,
yeah, I'm
mm,
continuing to struggle with
yeah.
him.
Mm, mm. Beautiful. Thank you, Vanita. A wonderful example, I must say. And we'll be coming back as to why this happens as well. I'm sure you'll be able to relate to it as well. Rahul, I can see Rahul's hands have gone. Yes. Yes, Rahul, if you could go off mute.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, when this happened in a few sessions, the client usually just, the iceberg concept which we have learned earlier,
Yeah.
not only in coaching, but
Mm.
even in life, like what's tangible only they can see, and when they're challenged with the intangible, right? So they don't want
Mm.
to open up and talk about it. They're
Mm.
very
Mm.
kind of closed over there. So
Yeah.
below the
Mm.
level, below the, I mean, what's outside is the tangible one, what can be seen, visible to the eyes. Intangible is the one with emotions, values, beliefs, judgments, biases, and all
Mm.
that is under the iceberg. And
Wow.
when I ask a question, is
Mm.
this some question
Mm.
based on this? They'll be like, no, I don't know, I've not thought of this, I don't think I will think of this. So it's
Mm.
always a negation over there. They're
Mm.
not willing
Mm.
to go within themselves, deeper within themselves,
Mm.
and understand that, yes, this is all within me.
Mm.
And they're not willing
Mm.
to explore that aspect.
Yeah.
And, you know, even
Mm.
whatever they have, they say
Mm.
that I'm not happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you notice, both Rahul and Vanita have kind of said the same thing, but in a different language. There's a resistance to change. Because deep down, there's a fear that if I adopt this change or if I talk about this, the coach will definitely hold the mirror and ask me to change, right? So I'm not going to share this, right? So there's a resistance to change which is coming to the surface, right? And this is what, again, some of you have already mentioned this. So these are some pointers that come up. Primarily, they lack motivation or willpower. Sometimes there are old habits that are deeply ingrained and they don't know how to undo those old habits, right? And like Rahul said, he has mentioned something really brilliant: tangible and intangible, right? Something that is seen, something that's on the surface. It's easily, you can address it. But there are things that are intangible, which is something like values or emotions, their belief system, intangible, or things that are not seen the naked eyes, right? Those things are not coming out, and probably usually what happens is that habits, belief systems, they are rooted in the intangible, right? So this is where we understand that the subconscious is speaking loudly, that the resistance to change is already there. Fear of change, like I said, it outweighs the desire to change, right? And of course, there's something beneath that awareness which is running the show. And that again is our subconscious, which we all understand. Yes, that is what is happening. So primarily, we understand that knowledge and insight, they are powerful things, right? Knowledge and insight are always powerful, but they usually operate at the conscious level. Lasting change usually requires something deeper, and this is where we need to understand why clients stay stuck in the first step, right? And that's the first step towards transformational coaching, where we understand that yes, we as coaches, we are brilliant in evoking awareness. We bring things to the surface, but what do we do with it next? That is where the challenge comes in, right? And I think Vanita has also mentioned it's really hard because they have they can't let go of certain things because of the fear of change, right? So that's what we are talking about. So primarily it's all about the knowledge and the behavioral gap, right? Even if we know that I need to change, even if I know that this behavior is harmful for me, I am not necessarily changing despite the awareness, despite the behavior. Why? Because these are subconscious layers beneath the behavior which is dictating me all this while. All right. Even if I'm aware, probably I'm not addressing them. And say if at the identity level, I just keep saying or telling myself, this is just who I am, right? This is just who I am. I think Vanita has also mentioned it. The self concept, certain self concepts are so deeply rooted that we resist the logical override, right? We resist anything that's logical. And we resist even the awareness for that matter. I know this is good for me, Vanita, at the end of the day, but I resist to change. Why? Because this is just who I am. And this is a deeply held self concept, right? So again, goes to what Rahul just mentioned, the tangible and intangible, going beneath the if you're going beneath the behavior, and if you look at the iceberg, right, the subconscious layers are already there. We are operating at that level, right? So that is what it is. Now, understanding what hypnosis is all about, right? Since we are all here, we would like to know what exactly is hypnosis, if I may ask. Can anyone tell me what hypnosis is? If you can just go off mute and talk about it. What exactly is hypnosis? So when I say hypnosis, what comes to your mind? What is the first word, the first reaction, the first input? What do you think hypnosis is? Yes,
Maybe I'll.
Anjali. Hmm.
Uh, when I think of hypnosis, I think of going into your subconscious mind
Hmm. Yeah.
and being able to see things which you're otherwise not able to comprehend exist.
Yeah. Thank you, Anjali. I love the way you have articulated it so clearly. I mean, very deliberate articulation. Yes. Okay. Anyone else would like to say something about hypnosis? What comes to your mind? I agree with Anjali. What Anjali has said.
Rajneesh has said that one is in a free state of mind.
Free state. Huh. So, Rajneesh, could you just elaborate what do you mean by free state of mind? Because I would like to know, as a coach, we have this question. What do you mean by free state of mind? Right? Yes, Rajneesh, if you can just elaborate that. What is free state of mind?
Free means that the person
Hmm.
is totally isolated from his current state, which is in the awareness. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
he is into a state where he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the hypnotist basically
Hmm.
helps him to reach at that stage by virtue of these
Yes.
grounding exercises and other
Yes.
mechanisms and tools.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yes, when you say that conscious awareness, right? So this is where hypnosis happens. We bypass the critical filter. So the conscious awareness is the wall. When the wall lowers, that's when hypnosis happens. Hypnosis, then you can access the subconscious mind, as Anjali has rightly said, right? Yes, any more responses? Okay. Now, I would want you all to do this small activity for me since it's a hypnosis session. We're doing a lot of these activities for sure. Well, how many of you would like to do this? And I think definitely we would want to do this. It's called the lemon experience. Okay. All right. Well, if you're comfortable doing so, I would want you all, again, inviting you all to gently close your eyes and simply notice your breathing. Gently close your eyes and simply notice your breathing. There's no need to do anything. Just becoming curious about whatever you experience. Now, imagine that you're holding a fresh lemon in your hand. Perhaps you're noticing its weight, its coolness, the slightly textured skin, feeling the tiny dimples on its surface. And as you bring it closer, you may begin to notice that familiar citrus fragrance. Fresh, clean, sharp. Perhaps your mind begins to remember what a freshly cut lemon smells like. Now imagine a knife gently slicing through the lemon. Notice the sound, the tiny droplets of juice catching the light, the fresh aroma becoming stronger and stronger. Imagine picking up one of those juicy slices, bringing it closer, closer to your lip, and only in your imagination, taking a slow bite. Just notice whatever happens next. Perhaps you're noticing a change in your mouth, a change in your jaws, maybe a little more moisture, a slight tightening around your jaws. Simply becoming aware of how your mind and body responds to something that exists only in your imagination. And when you're ready, take a comfortable breath, become aware of the room, become aware of the voice, gently wiggle your fingers, and at your own pace, allow your eyes to open. What just happened? I want to know from everyone. I do not want to plant ideas. If you could just go off mute. Anything that you experience.
I did put the salt before putting the lemon into the mouth.
Wow. Wow. Well, this is the power of imagination, right? Oh, wow, good. How did that feel? How was that taste? Hmm. Okay, anyone else would like to go off mute? What just happened? Hmm. Rahul,
I
yes.
was I was sitting by the beach enjoying lemonade.
Great. So you made lemonade out of the lemons already. Wow. Goes a little further. Yes. Wow. Thank you, Rahul. Okay. Anyone else would like to
I,
share?
I
Yeah.
think I was just reliving the experience. I was making margarita the other day, and when I cut the lemon, the juice actually squirted, and I could, it kind of uh, hit my face.
Wow.
So I think at that moment I did not, but as I was reliving this and doing this exercise, there was a heightened awareness,
Wow.
which,
I loved it. Yes. Yes, Anjali.
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, but in general, when I'm doing it, like in
Hmm.
general, because I just did it,
Hmm.
a day or two back, there was no time
Hmm.
for reflection or for this awareness,
Yeah.
which just came around when I was actually spending time in a conscious way doing it.
Wow. Anjali used a term, heightened awareness. Right? That's the term. That's what we experience during hypnosis. Now, if you notice, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, um, the subconscious mind does not distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. So the moment you are imagining this, it feels like real already. You can feel it, right? So this is the neurological foundation of hypnotic work in coaching as well. The body experiences, the body responds to inner experiences before the outer reality also sets in, right? And this is the reason why imagination, metaphor, I'm sure in the world of coaching, metaphor is a huge factor, right? Imagination, metaphor, guided imagery. They are not just exercises, if you notice, they are direct pathways to subconscious learning and change as well. All right. So this is where the implicit processing is happening already. All right. Okay. So we established a little about hypnosis. Now, this is what is happening in hypnosis. The brain constantly predicts and filters reality. Now, when the hypnosis happens, it gently softens, like I said, the critical filter, right? And it makes your subconscious a little more suggestible to, say, prompts, to commands, to things. And it's not again, you are not losing control, of course, but there's a heightened sense of awareness, right? You become more suggestible, like I said, to suggestions. Yes. If you have ever driven home and suddenly you realized, oh, I don't remember the last 5 kilometers, so you naturally experienced a state of trance, right? How many of you are avid book readers? You read books and you just get lost in the books. Yes, Vanita says yes. I think as coaches, we all are avid readers, right? If you notice, avid readers also become so immersed in that book If we are calling, hey, Vanita, food is ready. All right, dinner is ready. Vanita is like lost. Vanita, I told you dinner is ready just a while ago. I thought, oh, I'm so sorry. I was lost in the book. I was lost in the plot, right? Why? Why does that happen? Because trance takes place, right? You're already in a state of trance. And the awareness is so focused. You're not bothered about what's happening around, right? If you notice, if you are constantly riding, how many of you are good riders, bike riders here? Anyone? Anyone who rides, even when you are riding, say on a bike? Yes, Rahul says yes. You will notice that for a moment you are just fixed. Your gaze is fixed only on one particular site, right? And the whole what do you call it? The sight of the other things, say the trees or the roads or everything, the vehicles aside, you are not bothered about it, right? It's one focus, and suddenly you are in a state of trance already, right? This is where we need to understand that hypnosis is not just some esoteric term, something really outlandish out there. It generally happens. It is a day-to-day phenomena, right? Even when you are watching a movie, you are just transported to that character, to that plot. You want to know what happens. You just cry if the character is crying, right? So that's what is happening in hypnosis as well. Now, these are a couple of myths that we usually have about hypnosis, and we would like to debunk these myths, right? Hypnosis is not mind control. Of course, it's absolutely a guided kind of an attention. We do not lose consciousness, even though some people we would like to believe we lose consciousness. Definitely not. We remain highly aware in hypnosis. Right? Weak people get hypnotized. Do you agree with this? How many of you agree with this? Do weak people get hypnotized? So there's a myth around it as well. Well, actually, no. Uh, of course, I can say in clinical hypnotherapy terms, there are some people who are more suggestible than the others, right? And people who are really good at imagination, they become quite suggestible. Their suggestibility becomes increased with time, right? So that's one. People reveal secrets? No, they don't. Only if they choose to. And you can be made to do anything. Absolutely not. Those are some gimmicks that we see. That's not what hypnosis does. Ethical hypnosis would never override it. You'll always have some sort of a control. You're not revealing anything there, right? So that's what we are trying to understand, the myth and the reality of hypnosis. All right, I'm going to stop to see if you have any questions. Okay, all right. Yes, Vanita.
So, how are we using hypnosis in coaching?
Hmm.
I'm not a hypnotherapist.
Hmm. Yes.
So, uh,
I'm
uh,
coming to that. Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Yes. So how are we using hypnosis in coaching, right? So primarily, if you notice, so yeah, this is what is coming up in a while. If you notice, all right. So I'll just quickly go ahead with this. Yes. So these are some of the ways where we can use hypnosis, all right? It's called the Ericksonian framework, and we primarily use it in communication. So hypnosis can definitely reflect in our communication techniques. And there you go. Say, for example, if I have to use hypnosis as an approach, okay, as a coach, if I have to use this approach, this is how I can use it. Say a client is bringing in some experience, okay, and they're talking about, oh, I am stuck, I'm stuck in this situation. This is where Ericksonian principle can be utilized, right? So it can be utilized in questions. Say, okay, where in your body does stuck live, right? So this is where Milton Erickson, who was the person who founded this, primarily the Ericksonian principle, he talks about how we should never resist the client's reality, right? We are not resisting the client's reality. We are not correcting the client's reality. We are not challenging the current reality of the client. We are just taking every belief, every emotion, every hesitation, say the metaphors, the behavior the client brings, and it becomes a doorway to the insight, right? So we are working with the client and not against it. So if there is a situation where the client says, I feel stuck, we would want to probably understand, okay, where in the body do you feel stuck? So this is where we are bringing their attention back to the body, right? If stuck had a color, what would it be? So if it could speak, what would it say, right? So in a coaching situation, we can primarily use it as a communication principle, if you notice. And we are not giving advice here. There's no agenda, there's no coach agenda coming in. We simply follow the client's symbols, the emotions, the sensations, the metaphors, right? And the language to get into deeper kind of an awareness, right? So that is what we do. Now, if you allow me, I'll probably take you through more of it, but I wanted to dive a little deeper into how the subconscious communicates, right? So, shall we dive a little bit into that? Okay, all right. Good to go, everyone? Yeah,
Just
yes.
FYI, we have about
Hmm.
12 minutes to go.
Okay, all right. So in that situation, um, let's let's understand. So that's if you're talking about the Ericksonian principle, right? The utilization. That's one of the ways of doing it. If you see how do you explore hypnosis, right? So you use something called utilization. There's another way of doing it. Say it's called future pacing, right? This is another technique of doing it, and I'm sure some of you are already using it as well in your coaching sessions. So, what is future pacing? Where you invite the client to experience a desired future outcome before it happens. And are we leading it? We are not necessarily leading it. We are just trying to understand what possibilities can come up in that situation. So some people might want to ask, is it a closed eye exercise or an open eye exercise? You can definitely do it as an open eye exercise where you're not leading the client with anything. We are not using embedded commands. We are not prompting anything. We are just trying to understand how this person can experience something totally different in the future. All right. So this is where, say, for example, this person is saying that, okay, I feel stuck at the moment and I'm not seeing a headway with the goals. So if I have, as a coach, I can use this particular technique of future pacing. I can just say, so imagine 6 months down the line, you have successfully achieved the goal. How does it look like? Right. So what am I doing here? I am asking her to internally process it. Right. So she's accessing this intangible. This is what Rahul has talked about, the intangible part of our mind, to understand, okay, how would this particular experience look like? And you don't have to do any hypnotic induction or immersion here. It can be smoothly immersed in the coaching session where you are probably asking or redirecting this person to imagine it. It's a future pacing. The caution, again, word of caution, we do not suggest the outcomes as a coach, right? We are not suggesting outcomes. We are not implanting beliefs here. We are not telling the clients how they are ought to feel in this situation, right? So if you say, oh, you will feel extremely confident 6 months down the line, no, this is again leading, right? So we are not doing that. We are stepping aside from these leading statements, and we just want to understand, what do you notice? What is coming up for you? Right? And this is how they can access the intangible part of it or the subconscious already. Yes, Anjali, you have a question. I see Anjali's hands raised.
Yeah, not really a question, Dharmishta.
Yeah.
I have used future pacing in my coaching sessions. I did not know it's
Yes.
called that, but
Yeah.
it's really in the very like the first 15 minutes of the coaching where I have like, tell me what
Hmm.
it would look like
Yeah.
if you accomplish this, like,
Yeah.
because sometimes, it helps them get into that
Hmm.
thinking mode
Hmm.
and then it's easier for them to come up with an action plan or to analyze what they're not doing or what needs to be corrected. But it that
Absolutely.
future pacing has, I did not know it's kind of I'm doing hypnosis there. I did not know this
Yeah.
term. So thanks for
See,
introducing it.
thank you, Anjali. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for validating this. And like I said, we set the context right at the beginning when I said that some of you are already using these techniques. Maybe we don't know the name, we don't know the label behind it, right? So, yes, we are already using it. And future pacing is one of the most potent tools that we can use, a hypnosis tool that we can use, where the client can already feel resourceful about the situation as a different kind of an altered experience that they experience, and you can change the outcome even without leading the conversation. You're not implanting the outcome in their minds, right? So that is what future pacing is. The other one, and I love this technique, some of you have used it, it's called the deferred answer technique. All right, where say you ask a question and you understand that, okay, I can't recollect. Say I asked Anjali about, can you recollect the name of this movie? And you say, Dharmista, I'm not able to recollect it for now. So what I do is, as a coach, I leave it there, I ask the question, and sometime later you notice she's doing something else and it just pops up, right? So this is where her subconscious has already gone into the search engine. She's searching, the subconscious is already searching for the answer. And this is where Erickson has leveraged this technique. It's called the deferred answer technique, right? Because it removes the pressure to answer immediately. Because when you say, I don't know, or there's a pressure to answer it, there's a analytical wall, right? So herein we are removing the pressure. Say, for example, we can just say, I'm not going to ask you to answer this right now, so let's just sit with it. What comes to you between now and the next session? So we are allowing that space for the client to say, so that they can process it internally and they can have these answers come back, right? So that's one of the techniques that we often understand. Like, this is called the deferred answer technique. You can definitely use it and see if it can be helpful. The other one, I think some of you use it as well. It's called the observer position. Some of you use it really well. I've noticed in some coaching sessions, people have used hypnosis really well without leading the outcome again, without leading them with the answer, where you notice this person has been reliving an emotional moment again and again, right? So what happens is that they start associating themselves with the situation to a great extent. There's a heightened sense of emotion, right? This is where we get them dissociated from the situation. So the observer position does this. You ask them to step back and observe the event as though they are watching it as a movie. Now, what comes up in the awareness, right? What is surfacing? So you'll notice that they start coming up with the responses differently, right? This is not to use. This is not to be used to process trauma. But if you are into, if you're a trauma-informed coach, you can do it differently. We can use Gestalt, right? If you're already aware of Gestalt techniques, the empty chair technique, this can be used brilliantly as well, right? The observer position. So distance usually creates objectivity towards that situation, and it creates some sort of an awareness, and awareness always creates a choice, right? So this is where we can use another technique. And again, this is quite ICF safe, where we are not leading, we are not implanting beliefs, we are not telling them, okay, you need to feel this, you need to think about this. No, this is completely ICF safe, and you can use questions here as well. So I would like to know from all of you, if you can just go off mute, if you have ever used this technique, say in a very unconscious way as well. Dharmista, hey, Dharmista, I remember using it. Anjali has just mentioned. What question would you like to ask in this situation if you had to turn it into a coaching session? What question would you like to ask to turn this into a self-reflectory, say, I want to observe, I want this client to observe the situation by taking a step back and observe the event as someone watching the movie? Yes. Reactions, please. If you can go off mute.
So please add on.
Hmm.
One of the things that I like using is let's go into your balcony,
Hmm. Hmm.
and look within your home and see yourself sitting on a sofa or a
Yeah.
chair and
Oh.
experiencing whatever you're experiencing. What
Wow.
do you see now
Hmm.
happening? Now that you are an observer, and I call it
Hmm.
Sakshi. So
Hmm.
now that you are an observer and you're watching yourself, what do you feel?
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes they do experience a detachment sort of a thing,
Yeah.
and therefore they're able to clinically, say, oh,
Hmm.
this was wrong and this is not
Hmm.
right, and
Hmm.
all of that.
Yes. And that brings in a lot of objectivity towards the situation as well, right? They're dissociated from that situation already. Wow, beautifully said. Thank you, Vanita. Anyone else would like to add? Hmm. Okay, right. So, yes, these are some of the questions that you can use as a coach, right? So, if you say my presentation was a disaster, say you have a client who has this situation, you can just say, okay, imagine that the presentation is now a movie, it's playing on the screen. So, as an audience member watching it, what do you notice? What is coming up for you, right? So, you can ask them to dissociate from the situation and see it totally differently, right? Yes. Yes, Anjali. Hmm.
I think Dharmishta again did not know that this is all a part of hypnosis,
Yeah.
but removing yourself from the situation, because sometimes a person
Hmm.
comes to you and say the manager treated me very badly, right?
Hmm.
You're thinking it's personal,
Hmm.
but I think now as an observer, if you actually put them, and then sometimes I
Hmm.
think I as maybe a manager have told my team like, okay, um, if somebody's come back saying that I have went to the to a business person and this is how the situation unfolded, you have to tell them that it was not necessarily the one-on-one interaction. Maybe there was more to this picture that you need to see,
Hmm.
and in real world you don't have the time. But yes, in coaching, if somebody's bringing this problem, helping them dissociate that it is not, it will help them see so much more. Again, something that I've done in the past but not realized that this is actually a technique that's used in hypnosis. So thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. Well. Like I said, we all do it. We have been doing it. And now that you're aware of it, being within the, like I said, being within the guidelines of ICF, we can use some of these techniques already. And some of you are already using it with success. I want to bring in a story here of a client where she was facing a limiting belief situation where it was holding her back. But then we did a bit of hypnosis, and this is where we understood. Yes, yes, Anjali, you had something to add. Okay, all right. So
Just
she's a
that
med.
it's top of the hour,
Yeah,
so we can
sure. Definitely.
finish the story and
Just a bit of, yeah, just a bit of what how I have used hypnosis. So what I can do is I can talk about how I have used hypnotherapy in certain situation, going a little beyond what do you call the ICF coaching guidelines. And again, this was within the safe context of the client agreement. Again, we need to understand if the client agrees to do it or not, whether it's within the scope of the hypnosis intervention or the coaching intervention, right? So we need to understand if they are ready for it. So there was this one story of a limiting belief of, again, this client was a medical professional and she had a tough time. She had a conflicting relationship with her own self when she noticed that it was her inner child. And again, me being an inner child healer, this is where I stepped in and I understood that only a mere coaching session would not help. Probably we might want to revisit the situation where I used a bit of the hypnotherapy technique, and a lot changed after that, where we understood where exactly she was coming from and how this particular awareness is going to help her in future, right? So if you have to use this approach, now again, some of you might use hypnosis, you're already using hypnosis, but if you want to use hypnosis a little more to understand how, okay, Dharmishta, if I have to use it as a tool in this situation, this is primarily an approach that I would like to suggest as a hypnotherapist, right? Whenever we have a situation of this kind, where there's an inner child situation happening, right? We can start with the present emotional experience and not dig into the past as ICF coaches, because that again would go into trauma. therapy, right? A therapeutic intervention. We can invite symbolic imagery to emerge whenever we are coaching them. And as coaches, we do it brilliantly, right? So you can do that as well. We can use permissive and non-directive questions to understand what is this symbol all about? What does it stand for, right? What does it stand for this person? And then we can facilitate, say, how what does she want to do with this thing now, right? So again, a very non-directive usage, non-directive approach, again using client's imagination, client's metaphors, client's emotions to uncover the deeper meaning of what this experience is, right? So this is what I wanted to talk about. But when I used it, I used a deeper hypnotherapy approach, where there was an inner child integration, parts work, and Ericksonian informed therapeutic intervention that was used, right? So these are some questions that you can definitely use if you are using inner child resource integration, right? So for example, I can take only one example. And as you notice that younger part, so usually when the inner child comes up, it is the younger part. What might it need from you today? That's all. So you can, so a lot of insights can be opened up through this question itself, if you notice, right? So again, this is Ericksonian informed, quite ICF safe, and we are not at all digging into the past, right? So a couple of things where we need to do ethical integration. We know coaching is ICF aligned, right? It's very much future focused goal, where we are focused on the goal of the person, right? Future goals of the person. But in hypnotherapy, it's the goal is primarily healing, symptom resolution, and primarily the clinical outcomes that we notice, right? In coaching, we understand that the client is resourceful. So we generally lead them to generate their own insights, their own answers and inputs. But sometimes in hypnotherapy, what happens if you're going into deep hypnotherapy interventions, the client, the therapist can facilitate the intervention, right? The therapist usually guides the intervention, the therapeutic processes. So you already know some of these. And of course, in hypnotherapy, the client can definitely have altered states of awareness, and this is primarily used for therapeutic intervention, right? Okay. So on that note, since we are on top of the hour, I would want you all to tell me this, right? And again, how you would like to bring this to your awareness. I think you know about this story already, right? The two wolves. So there were these two wolves. Again, one is evil. He's always angry, or he's envious. He's sorrowful. He has regrets. He has self-sabotage traits, and of course, self-doubt and ego. And the other wolf is good. He is joyful, peaceful, love, he has hope, he has serenity, compassion, and faith, right? So sometimes we notice that these two wolves also exist within us, right? And there's this constant battle going on, if you notice, right? Now, I want to understand from everyone, if this were the case for all of you, can you all just dive into yourself for some time and tell me which wolf are you unknowingly feeding most often in your case? All right. If you can just bring your awareness to this question, which wolf are you unknowingly feeding most often in your case?
It
And if
depends
that
on
wolf,
it depends on my emotional state that particular day.
right? Yeah, it depends on the
The
day as
wolf,
well, right? Yes.
the wolf with the creative tension.
Whoa. I would like to uncover and talk about it someday, Rahul. What is this? Definitely. Creative tension. Okay. And I'm sure all of you have this particular wolf that you unknowingly feed. So let us, I want you to I would want to invite your awareness to this question. If you feed this wolf, if this wolf gets fed almost every day for the next 5 years, where do you think it will lead? Like, where do you think it will lead to? And then what is that one belief you would rather begin feeding instead of feeding that particular wolf? All right. So I'll leave with that particular question. And on that note, this is me signing off for today. And yes, I hope all of you have found relevance, relativity, and more of value in the session. Yes, open to questions, inputs, suggestions,
Yeah, maybe
reactions.
maybe we can take one question. Thank you so much,
Hmm.
Dharmista. Maybe we can
Yeah.
take one question.
Is there a
Anybody?
question in the chat?
No.
So,
I think I just have one question. If we have the time, Vanita, can I ask it?
Yes,
Please,
please.
please.
Um, I know, Dharmishta, you're also an NLP practitioner. I don't
Hmm.
have much knowledge about NLP, but did the two areas have any overlap?
Yes, yes, definitely. If you look at Ericksonian model, right, Ericksonian concepts of hypnosis, NLP, most of NLP's work, the base of work is also Milton model, the Milton model of questioning. Milton model is primarily hypnosis as well, if you look at it, right? So yes, it does have an overlap there. It does have an
Okay.
overlap. And and this is where we understand hypnosis is not just commands, right? We can use it in our day-to-day language. We are already using it. You can already
Yes.
hypnotize someone with your language, right? So yeah, I think salespeople use it very often to influence people. Right? The language of hypnosis, yes. So yeah.
There's one question from
Hmm.
Devang. You shared most of what is under ICF guidelines. Hypnosis coaching can be beyond these frames as well, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Hypnosis coaching can also be beyond these frames, like I said. There are deeper therapeutic interventions which cannot be practiced within these guidelines, of course. They go into deeper therapeutic practices. Okay. Say regression, which is another hypnosis technique, right? Ego
Past life
state.
regression.
Yes, past life regression, ego state techniques. Even you don't have to go to past life. You can do a childhood regression technique to understand what exactly happened to a person in the childhood, right? So all of these things can be explored through the use of hypnotherapy.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dharmishta. Acha, there's another question. Where can we learn these from?
Okay, so definitely we can learn this from, say again, yes, and now that someone has already asked this, I'm running a cohort on hypnotherapy, and this is going to happen in the month of August. So if people are willing to learn these techniques, learn hypnotherapy, learn how they can go into deeper therapeutic realm, deeper healing processes, definitely I can open the cohort to people here as well. Again, that will be, like I said, it will not be within the guidelines of ICF. It will be outside the realms of ICF and ICF approaches, right? So
Great.
yeah,
Thank you
yes,
so much, Dharmista, and thank you everybody for joining today. I really like the way you integrated it, and not made it look very different from our regular ICF
yes,
coaching
yes,
techniques. So thank you so much, and there is a lot of potential for us as well to learn from all this. So wishing you all the very best, and looking forward to meeting you all again. Thank you.
thank
thank
you
you, Dharmish.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dharmishta. Thank you,
people for
Vanita.
joining.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Thank you so
being
much.
wonderful participants. Thank you people.
Thank you so
Bye
much.
bye. Bye bye.
Maybe all of us can come online for a minute and we can take one picture. I can take a
Yes,
picture.
that would be lovely. Did
I'm sorry,
everyone
I
Yes,
get
should have
off?
done this before. I should have done
Everyone
this
got off.
everyone's
before.
leaving, so quickly we can.
Yeah, okay, we're just six of us. Okay, let me just see if I can capture something here.
Hmm.